Hey everybody, Matt Wright here, hanging out in good old Starbucks today. I got a little stray hair there, but that's alright. We're human here. And today we're going to talk about the big mistake that people make when they're first starting out. People tend to get sold on like all kinds of things when they're a new business. And there's a lot to learn. I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, oh my gosh, there's a lot to learn here. I can't believe all the things that I've had to go and learn that I never thought I'd have to go and learn. And like how many, books and things that I've read, and just all the material I've looked at, and all the material that's out there and that, tempted me to go look at and get just massively distracted by. So today I want to help you cut that down, help you understand what that big mistake is and how to get around it. But before we get started, as always, if you're someone who wants to get on a call and work out this kind of stuff, you can always go to mattwrightcall.com and you can sign up for a call there. And I just walk you through all these exercises. That's all I do on that call. I like helping people out, getting to know people who are in my audience on my email list, watching. Offers always open, mattwrightcall.com. And so let's get right into it. So the big mistake that most people make when they're first starting out their business, their coaching business especially, is that they get out there and then they are immediately bombarded by all of these offers through Facebook ads at conferences, and the marketing that a lot of these people do is frankly very good. And they'll show incredible results, they'll get people. I saw somebody who, there's a guy who never posts in this Facebook group, and he got this lady's program, and then he posted in this Facebook group, and it looked like a completely scripted testimonial. And I was just like, you couldn't really tell unless you kind of knew the guy a little bit, which I sort of knew. Like, I just knew he didn't post a lot. But it was just crazy, the level of marketing that goes into some of these things. Some people are just, they really want to sell people, they aren't always going to take people who are the best fit. And sadly, people, when they're starting off their business, right, like a lot of times, a lot of people that I work with are kind of coming into their second career, they did good in the corporate world and they're like, okay, now I want to do something for myself, make a real impact. And, they've got, some money saved up or something, and then they'll go spend thousands of dollars on one of these things that it's not necessarily bad, but it's a very bad decision for them at the time and place they're in the business that they're in at that moment. So the big mistake that people make when they're first starting out is that they're automating things before they're ready to automate anything. And this is particularly damaging because if you don't have anybody and you end up investing all this time to learn technology, which is probably not your primary skill set. It is my primary skill set, or one of them, because I grew up with computers like the 24-year-old guy that I have. If you're going to invest all that time but automate for no one, if you don't have an audience, if you don't have an email list already, if you don't have clients already, you're really wasting time. Because let's say you've got X thousands of dollars to make your living expenses for a couple of months, right? The number one activity that you should be focusing on is marketing and sales, is getting your message out there and getting people on into the next step in your sales process. And the sales process could just be a phone call. It could be a webinar. It could be getting on your email list. It could be going to a checkout page and buying a book, and then the book points them to a phone call where you sell them something. That's the sales process. So every action that you do when you're a solo practitioner should be focused on getting people into those next process, onto that next step of the process. So, but the big mistake is to sit there and automate things. You will get clarity on what to automate once you've actually been doing what you're doing for a while. So I teach all my clients that coaching is really an evolutionary business. It's a business of personal discovery, and it's so fun for that reason because where you start is not where you're gonna end. So, for example, when I first started doing what I'm doing, I started off being like the everything guy, and I was doing chatbots, I was doing email marketing, I was doing funnels, I was doing just this smattering of things. And because of that, I was spending many, many hours a day very stressed about taking care of all these different activities of just doing the client work. And then over time, I kind of had a trend in my clients towards email marketing, and then I had a trend in my clients towards webinars, and then I had a trend, and then I started to see the bigger picture, which was all these things are good. They're good elements. They're good pieces that people need in their business a lot of times, or they're very helpful as a sales process that people can add to their business. But it's not the be-all, end-all. And so I went on that journey from, I started out being this guy, and then I went to this email marketing guy, and then I went to the webinar guy, and then I went to this thing and that thing. And now I've zoomed out, and I've combined all of it into what I believe is the best possible package for anybody looking to start out. But it took me time. It took me time working with people before I could do that. So if you're just starting out, there's a couple things you need to realize, which is, one, don't automate when you got nobody. Don't pay for, a fancy automation package from someone when you haven't worked with, I'd say at least 10 clients. 5 to 10 clients is probably where you'll start to see a trend of, most of the people I work with are, say you're a health coach, they need gut health tests, and so we're going to get these tests, and then we're going to send them these supplements, and then they're going to do X number of calls with me, and then you can start to automate around that. But until you've experienced the process enough, then it's hard to do that. So if you're someone who wants help, as always, working this kind of stuff out, the business automation, what steps do I take next, you can always set up a free call with me at mattwrightcall.com. And there's just a little form there you fill out, and I just help you work out all this stuff. That's all we do in the call. I like getting to know the people who watch my stuff, who are on my email list, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so where were we? So yeah, the big mistake that people make. So let's talk about not just, so if you aren't going to automate, then what are the activities that you should be working on daily in order to move your business forward? Number one, is, I just want to put this out there, is stop worrying about being perfect. Nobody who ever has really done something super great in the world came out with their first iteration and it was like the smash hit final iteration, right? And it's like I said, it goes right along with coaching is an evolutionary business. Like, where you start's not where you're going to end up. So get something out there, get some people in, start working with them, and then you'll get the clarity later about about what exactly, you'll get sharper on the thing that you help people accomplish, and you'll get sharper about where you can automate around that. So activities that you should be focusing on is marketing and sales. Okay, what are the marketing and sales activities that I recommend? A lot of people out there these days are telling you to do organic marketing, especially if you're in the business space. You can go on LinkedIn, you can send direct messages to people, and it works really good. But my personal take and opinion is that if I have to go and manually grind out, it's not a really scalable system. And if I'm going to start a business, most people, when they went off to start a business, I remember there's this guy I used to listen to, his name is Sean Cox, and I still listen to some of his stuff. He was a big health coach kind of guy. And he told this story where his brother wanted to start a plumbing business of all things, and he took out $100,000 loan in order to get the equipment and the shop space. So imagine just taking $100,000 to start the business, to get the baseline stuff there, to not even know if it's going to work or not. That back in the day, or even today, if I want to go, get some brick and mortar thing around here, it probably cost me tens of thousands of dollars. 30 to 50,000 would be I don't know, probably bare minimum. Probably 70 to 100 would probably be more reasonable, especially if you're doing a restaurant or something. But if you're starting this kind of business, it makes sense that, okay, well, what amount of money can I put in at the start to get this thing working? And if I choose the right sales process, the right marketing process for me, then it'll get traction for me. And if I choose a marketing process that, whether it directly works or not, will help me to get clients. And what do I mean by that? What I mean by that is there are, a lot of people will go to, Facebook ads or YouTube ads is popular now or something like that, and they'll try something out and they're looking for a direct result. And the direct result would be, okay, when I spent $100, X number of people clicked my ad, X number of people signed up for my webinar, and 0 of them bought or something. Clearly, webinars don't work. And it's well, that's not true. There's a number of pieces in the chain that could have not been working. So the first piece is, if you got click-throughs, maybe your ad was okay. 2 to 3% click-through is good for click-through on an opt-in if you're doing especially cold traffic to a webinar. But if you are, so people opt in, how many people showed up to the webinar? And there's kind of like, what I've realized is launch conversion rates. So like if you do like a whole business launch kind of thing, the conversion rate will be like 2 to 5%, right? Across like starting with all these people at the very end, 2 to 5%, right? But there's kind of like a minimum number where if you're at, 500-ish people, 1,000-ish people, like 1,500, 2,000-ish, at the end of that process, with that conversion rate, you only end up with, like, it's always 10 people or less. And it's really not until you start to get into very large numbers on an email list or very large numbers on a like a Facebook audience or something, that or lots of JV partners, that you start to get real big sales numbers at the end. There's like a threshold of many thousands of people. So we were talking about direct results on advertising. So zoom back out. Indirect results on advertising are people see an ad or something that helps them out, like a video like this, and then months later they decide to directly go to, like, I went to a website where I was going to buy a product because I wanted more info about the product, and then I bought the product on Amazon. So I saw an ad on Facebook. I didn't click through the ad on Facebook. I went directly to the manufacturer website to get more information, liked it from there, and then I went to Amazon. So there was 3 different sources, and that kind of pathway is not really going to be traceable or very well trackable in most advertising campaigns you set up, especially if you're a real beginner, unless you're getting really advanced with like UTMs and fancy pixel stuff and blah blah blah, doing some really clever purchase tracking conversion, which you can't pixel on Amazon. So anywho, real tangent. That got wild. So indirect results on advertising is something that I would consider when you're considering an advertising or marketing process. So when you are picking an advertising process, which sales activities focus on every day, I would choose an activity that builds goodwill and helps people. Because if you demonstrate that you can help people by actually helping them, like through a video like this, then they're going to be more likely to do business with you anyways, whether it's now or much further down the line, right? So the exact marketing activity that I recommend to you is to get on Facebook Live, do some videos like this, help people, don't hold anything back, but intersperse throughout your content, invite people to the next step in your sales process. For me, that's a phone call. You can always go to mattwrightcall.com and you can go and sign up for a call there. And all I do on that call, my particular sales process, is help people out with stuff like this. So let's recap. Today we talked about the big mistake that most coaches make when they're first starting, which is they try to automate before they have anybody. And the solution to that is to instead focus on the marketing and the sales activities, get 5 to 10 people under your belt, and then you can look at how can I automate this process? What is the result that I provide for people? What do I do to help them get there? And what technology can I use to lower my own burden? And the marketing process, or the activities that you should pursue every day, is doing videos like this where you help people, invite them to the next step in your sales process, and do it frequently, do it daily. It only takes about 10 minutes to show up on here and start to get shown to more people. And then when you're ready, you can always take those videos and show them to people via paid ads. And then because that video has the pitch sprinkled in throughout it, people will always be able to take the next step. And video view ads are much cheaper than conversion ads, or I don't know about traffic. Traffic is more for like text posts and getting people to click through to something, but video view is super cheap. So I hope that clarifies things. As always, if you have questions, you can leave them in the comments down below. I do check those very frequently and reply to them. If you know someone who this would help, then go ahead and share it with them. And I am going to go and do some rock climbing. If you want some help with this kind of stuff, you can always go to mattwrightcall.com and set up a free call with me where I just help you work through this stuff. That's all I do. I like getting to know the people who are on the other end of this cell phone thingy, or on my email list, etc., etc. Have an amazing day, and I will see you tomorrow.